McDonald versus McDonald, D15-518-905D and T16-170957T. The parties are present. Counsel, your appearance for the record.
Russell Collins on behalf of plaintiff, who is present.
All right, and so Mr. McDonald, your attorney is not here, Mr. Maglares. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor. I've been trying to reach him. I believe he might be in the hospital or something might have happened to him. Yeah, he's been having back issues lately, so yeah, he's his sole proprietorship. I haven't been able to get a hold of him.
All right, the court attempted to, well, not me, but my staff attempted to contact his office. There was no answer at his office. Counsel, have you been in contact with Mr. Maglares?
I tried to call him as well while we've been out there, and it went right to his voicemail. I talked to him last Thursday.
Oh, you talked to him last Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, just a few days ago. And was it your understanding that he would be here today when you spoke to him on Thursday?
Yes.
I don't want to know the contents of your conversation, but...
There was no indication that there were any issues, or as far as our conversation went, we ended it with, we'll see you on Tuesday, so...
Okay. All right.
I also talked to him, I believe it was last Wednesday, not the week, or Wednesday after last. So.
All right. And Counsel, you said you got his voicemail. Did you talk to him on his office number, or did you have his cell phone number?
I call him. It's a voice. It's a number that comes with his. It's on his email. It's the number I always call, and it seems to reach his cell phone because I've talked to him when he's been here at the courthouse a couple times.
So it might be forwarded to his cell phone.
And Your Honor, he's never not gotten back to me before either. So.
But I think it's straight. Mr. Maglares is fairly reasonable and has always made appearances in this case and in others. The court's surprised that he's not here. He's not unbundled in this case. I am going to, well, Counsel, what's your request today?
We're prepared and ready to go. I understand that it's difficult without his attorney here present, but where we don't know whether he's going to be back, whether he's not. I just don't want to. I don't want to put this off indefinitely. Where we're ready to go. Candace is ready to just have this resolved. We spent a lot of time and money to get prepared and be here today.
Your Honor, I have all the documents ready, but I would prefer to have my lawyer here so we could do a postponement of the date. I would also ask Your Honor if I could have. I should be allowed joint custody of my kids. Like, there's no reason for me not to have.
Oh, you need to stop right now, Mr. McDonald, because there's about 100 reasons. So you probably need to stop talking and wait for your lawyer to get here. Okay? What I'm going to do? No, please stop. Please
Stop.
You need to stop talking. Okay? All right? Because these applications for TPOs I'm seeing, I'm very concerned, extremely concerned, gravely concerned. All right? What I'm going to do today is, Counsel, I'm concerned that if we go forward today, we are going to create a situation where we just have a motion to reconsider, and I'd have to set aside and redo all of this again, and I don't want to do that for everyone involved, including the court. It just doesn't make sense. So I do want to continue it and do just a brief continuance. I can't imagine Mr. Maglares, that obviously hasn't contacted our office. If we had any indication of any medical issue, we would have certainly contacted counsel. And counsel, I assume, if you hear from Mr. Maglares in the next few days, you can jointly contact my office and we'll talk about scheduling issues. Okay. So I'd like to set the evidentiary hearing and trial over just for a brief continuance. I know that the parties, and it sounds like even Mr. Maglares was prepared to go forward, and so we shouldn't need a very long continuance at all. The court can accommodate you next Wednesday afternoon, the 6th. Does that work for you, Mr. McDonald?
What time, Your Honor?
At 1:30 in the afternoon.
I do have work. Is there any way that we could do it past 4:30 or 4 o'clock, or no?
It will last for a few hours, and so the court can't start at 4:30 or 4 o'clock because we go into the night.
That should be okay. Yeah.
Okay, so 1:30 on the 6th. Counsel, does that work for you?
Yeah, that should be fine, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll see everybody back 1:30 on the 6th. I am going to ask, I'm going to have my staff attempt to leave a message for Mr. Maglares and counsel. If you hear from him, I want to hear from you both jointly on a conference call before that date, okay? And that's just for scheduling issues. The parties don't need to be part of that conference call. I want to determine if Mr. Maglares can go on the 6th and what the nature of his absence is. Certainly give him the benefit of the doubt today. All right. I do want to deal with a couple of issues just briefly. I note that there were a few two applications for TPOs that were filed since the last time you were here. You were just here May 18th. Mr. Maglares was here at that time. Mom applied for a TPO June 3rd, 2016.
Your Honor, may I speak to that, please?
Not yet. And I just want for everybody to see where we're at, and then I'll hear from each of you. The court, the hearing master there, denied the request for a TPO because the DV hearing master felt that it could be addressed at the hearing coming up today. I don't want to move past today without hearing that issue because I'm gravely concerned about the allegations. So I've read the application. What I'm going to do is ask to swear in the plaintiff, her to tell me what happened and the reasons why she's applying for this TPO and the things that have changed since the last time I saw you in May. And then I'm going to swear you in and let you respond, okay? I'm going to tell you from the outset and remind you again, I'm very concerned. In this case, Mr. McDonald, in the times that I've seen you, I've expressed that every time I've seen you. I've expressed that I'm concerned that you're controlling. I'm concerned about your behavior every time. And what I think that I'm seeing is that behavior increase and get more serious. And the court feels as though it might need to step in to resolve that, okay? So let's swear you both in, right? Please raise your right hand.
Do you and each of you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Everybody can have a seat right where you are. Counsel, I'll let you conduct any direct that you have of your client.
And we're just dealing with the
Just with the
issues around
TP
the
issue.
right?
Yes, just those issues raised in her application.
Can you, Candace, just state your name for the record?
Candace McDonald?
You applied for a protective order on June 3rd, correct?
Yes.
What was the reasoning for that protective order?
My son had come home from visitation on Sunday, and at that time he had a little toy that he was playing with, like on the car door of my handle. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey bud, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm tracking you like Daddy." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "Daddy has a tracker on you." And I was confused because my son is 4. So I asked him to elaborate, and he said that Michael had showed him on a map that he could follow my car, and there were blue dots, and he thought that it was really cool. And he wanted to follow me like Daddy follows me. And so I asked him how he felt about that, and he said that he felt scared to tell me the truth because Michael made him promise not to tell. And he also said that if he did tell, that the judge would put him in jail. And I have never talked to him about a judge or any of this divorce case at all because he's small. So I asked him what was a judge and what did he mean by that. And he said the judge in your divorce. And so he proceeded to stay up for the rest of the night and worry that he made the wrong choice by telling me the truth and was concerned that his dad was going to go to jail. So after I put him to bed, I called my parents because I was very concerned, and I honestly didn't even really know where to look for a GPS device, if that was really true, you know, and also I'm like, maybe he's confused, I don't know. So I Googled a website to see where it could possibly be, and the website said to check in the engine or in what's called an OBD port, which is where you get a smog check. And so I went out to my car and I noticed that there was something plugged into the OBD port. But like, I don't know much about cars, so I was still like, I don't know, is that a part of my car? I took a picture of it, I sent it to my parents. My stepdad knows a lot about cars, and he even said, I don't know what I'm looking at. They were out of town at the time. So my parents told me to call 311 and ask what I should do. And 311 advised me to take pictures of whatever it was, and they said that I could remove it if I felt threatened, which obviously I did. And so but they said don't remove it unless someone is present, so that you have someone with you. And I'm like, okay. So my stepdad said, you know what, we're going to be home tomorrow. We'll come take a look at it. I know a lot about cars. So they came the next day, and the plug that's plugged into the OBD port has a lot of cords coming out of it, and then there was a part that was up under the skirting of my car. So he popped that off, and when he popped it off, a GPS device fell out, and on the GPS device there was a piece of electrical tape over the flashing blue or green light that was on it. And we took pictures, and I obviously felt very scared because he's shown up to places, the gym, other places where I haven't told him where I'm at.
Like what, I saw the gym. What other places?
Let me see if I can think of one off the top of my head. Well, he when I filed the original protective order, he was saying that he was going to come to my house and calling me saying, I'm across the street from your house at Lone Mountain, I'm going to come over. And I said, I'm not home. And then he replied with, yes, you are. I know you're home. And so then I was like, how does he know I'm home? Like, unless he's driven by my house or is watching me somehow, how does he know that? So I called the police because I was naturally really afraid that he might do something, especially because he's bipolar and he owns guns. And so I was concerned. I'm still concerned. I'm still afraid that he's watching me. Before this, I had a previous cell phone that he was tracking. I got rid of that cell phone because I knew he was watching me. He would send me texts saying that he knew where I was at or who I was with. He installed cameras in my house. The old house that we owned together, I was feeding my daughter and I looked up in an air vent and I noticed a flashing light. I reached up in there and pulled out a camera. He had cameras on the outside of our house. So ultimately, and this isn't the first time he's tampered with my car either, he pulled a fuse from my car, which he admitted to at the last TPO hearing. And so, and he's been abusive in the past, and so I'm like literally afraid for my life. So I applied, and it was denied. I filed a police report, and I spoke with the domestic violence advocate, and they told me to refile. They were like, the police said there was nothing they could do because the property hasn't been split. So technically, legally, there was nothing that they could do. But Detective Ray told me to refile, and he encouraged me to attach pictures and any text messages or anything else that showed that he liked stalking behavior. And up until that point, Michael in one day added me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. When I asked him to stop doing that, he continued to text me over the course of the last month, asking me to go out with him, asking if he can see me, asking me if he can talk to me on the phone. Like, no matter how many times I've asked him to leave me alone, he won't. And so he has a theory that I have a boyfriend, and he's constantly questioning me about who I'm seeing or what I'm doing or where I'm at. And then with the GPS device, you know, him knowing my every move is just really scary. And I'm afraid that he's going to show up somewhere or do something or hurt me or hurt the kids. And
is your stepdad here today?
Yes.
All right. Sir, will you stand up? Your stepdad? Oh, he's outside. Shall we get him?
Your Honor, can I speak to this, please?
A moment. I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak. Sir, can you come on up here to the witness stand and raise your right hand to be sworn?
Want to raise your right hand, please, sir, before you sit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Sir, will you state your name for the record?
My name is Daniel Dixon.
Will you spell that for us?
DANIEL DIXON.
And how are you related to the plaintiff?
She's my stepdaughter.
All right, counsel, go ahead. Will you just ask him some questions?
And I'm going to show you a device. Have you ever seen this before?
Yes, I have.
What do you recognize this to be?
It's a tracking device.
Okay. Do you know where this device came from?
It came from Kansas car.
Okay. Did you help Candace investigate to find the tracking device? And what did you do to help Candace?
Candace was kind of asking me to kind of look underneath the front end of the car and stuff like that to see if I could see anything there. And when I did, I got underneath the steering wheel column, and there's a place where you plug in for your smog device, and that was plugged into it, and then the cable went up and underneath a skirting that was right there by the pedals, and the square piece was laying up on top of there.
Let me ask you this. That was in the interior of the car?
Yes.
All right, so it wasn't under the hood. It was actually...
Inside the driver's side compartment.
Thank you.
Do you remember when that was?
When I found it,
Yeah.
3-4 weeks ago, about that, 3-4 weeks ago.
Do you remember when Candace notified you that she believed there was some kind of device in her car?
She called us. We were in Phoenix, and she had called us and told us that she was trying to figure this out because of what our grandson had said to her, and so she was trying to diligently find this thing. And we got on the computer from there, going back and forth, and kind of figured out that that would be a proper location for it. And when I got there, it was there. It was plugged in.
Are you fairly familiar with cars?
Yes.
Had you ever been inside Candace's car or looked inside Candace's car before this time?
Many times.
For what reason?
Same reason. She early on, and when they first got separated, she felt she was being tracked, and we finally discovered that it was her phone. But we were looking in the car and stuff, trying to figure out if there was some type of tracking device in it. But she had some type of tracking device put on her phone.
Okay. And when you were looking in, when would that have been, roughly?
That would have been probably last summer, probably also right around November, December again. A couple times we were trying to figure out, things just weren't adding up, so we're trying to figure out what was going on.
And when you were looking in her car at that point, did you see this device in there at that point?
Absolutely not, never.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dixon. I appreciate your testimony. Counsel, do you have anything else to add in reference to the TPO today?
Well, I think there's been a pattern, like Candace has addressed, there's been a pattern of her vehicle being tampered with, and even if Your Honor recalls at the last hearing, when Candace advised the court that somebody had been in her car at school in February, dropped off Valentine's packages and different things, and your court ordered Mr. McDonald to get the key back, which he was very reluctant to do. We don't know if that's because this device was in there, he wanted to get it back before he had to turn over the keys or whatever it may have been. But it's just the ongoing issues when a TPO has been issued in the past because of tampering with a vehicle, and the activity continues. There's legitimate reason for Candace to be concerned.
Counsel, I read in the application that on the device itself was an indication of the owner of the device, and the owner of the device was the same party who is the defendant's employer.
That is correct. His new employer, Your Honor.
Can I see the device? Thank you.
You'll also notice, Your Honor, on the front of that device there's some grayish black tape that covers up what we believe to be a green light that would indicate when the power is on to that device. Also, we believe, used to conceal that it was even in there.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. McDonald, is there anything you would like to add? I'll remind you that you're still under oath, but you can remain seated.
Your Honor, may I speak? So first of all, I have never told my son anything about a tracking device, nor have I showed him something on the map saying, "Oh, here, I'm tracking mommy." That is a complete lie and falsehood. I have never said that to him. Him trying to say that exact phrase as a 4 or 5 year old that he just turned 5 is a complete lie. Like, there's no way, no reason for it. As for the tracking device, I have always had tracking devices on both my vehicles. I work at a telematics company. I have always had tracking devices on both my vehicles. I've also been part of testing him, part of our Canadian group for testing the devices. So she was aware of it as well. She's always known there's tracking device. She may have forgotten about it, but I was doing testing back when I worked at Street Telecom, and they are always that geotab device that I was testing along with other tracking devices. So I've tested that. Another thing for the cameras, I've always had cameras in my house. She was aware of that. She had our neighbor was broken into. The cameras were installed so that we could watch our neighborhood and also inside. Another reason for the tracking devices, it was our neighbor's SUV was actually stolen. So we just bought this SUV, and I'm like, "Oh, Candace, we need to make sure it doesn't get stolen. So hey, we're gonna make sure that it's tracked and everything." So obviously she didn't remember that the devices were there. And is it illegal to track your own vehicles? No, that is also my SUV, and it was very concerning when she almost took the SUV and almost ran off a cliff. There's damage to SUV after a night of partying up in Mount Charleston with her friend that's actually here, I believe. There's just a lot, Your Honor. It's been a very emotional thing. It's been a year. There's so much to it. I'm an awesome dad. I love my kids. There's no reason for me not to be able to see them. And she knows that. She's also been getting these TPOs to bolster her claim for primary custody.
What we're talking about today is the TPO only. So from what you're told me is that you placed the tracking device on the car.
Your Honor, there's always been tracking devices on them.
And you placed them on that car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And there is also I actually have paperwork from my employer stating that we are required to have those tracking devices in our vehicles. So
I'd love to see it.
Sure.
I've never seen this document yet. I'd like to have a chance to look at it, if at all possible.
Sure.
Here I copied it from the company thing. I'm not sure. So it's on the second. It starts on the second page here.
Okay.
And then there's a picture of.
I think right now they're just interested in that particular document.
There's a picture of the tracking device in my vehicle as well as the damage to the SUV. Your Honor, I also have journals stating the mental condition of her. Things it's really concerning with my kids.
Right now, just let him read it. Take it one second time.
start from the start. Your Honor, is it against the law to track your own vehicles?
Anything else you want to tell me
There's a lot to this, Your Honor. Just
regarding the TPO today?
TPO, Your Honor, it's baseless. I have never threatened her. I've never said anything concerning or anything threatening. She's only used this against me to try to get primary custody of the kids because she doesn't have anything else to use. So we have had a period even up to March where we were getting back together. I'd go to her house. She'd come to my house. We were working amicably for the kids. We'd call the kids every night. I was able to talk to them. So, and I would do the same for her. We've been working out everything. Everything's been fine, and she's been trying to deny me my parental rights to my kids, and just to use these TPOs is crazy. It's like there's no reason for it. I've never been abusive. She was in fact the abusive one. She was hitting me and punching me. I've never hit her, Your Honor. I've never done anything. I've had to restrain her a few times. I admit that. But I have not done anything that warrants a TPO or trying to take my kids away from me. I love my kids. I've never been abusive. I'm a nice and honorable guy. I would never do anything like that. And so for her to use this TPO in the court to try to say, oh, you can't, now I'm going to take your kids, and so that she can get money, it's completely baseless. So I'm asking Your Honor, just please disregard this, and this is something that should not be used against somebody, because and she also knows the law as well. She used to work as a divorce lawyer, Shapiro Group, when she was in college. So I also have text messages threatening, hey, I'm going to get a TPO against you or I'm going to get a restraining order against you if you don't do this, or if you don't give me my money. So it's like it's just a case of money. It's like it's retarded. We need to work what's in the best interest of the kids and try to be good parents for them and co-parents. And that's it. There's no other reason for us causing conflict in any little thing that could be used. So, and then trying to say, oh, you've done this and that, and there's a lot, Your Honor. I have pictures and documents, especially to her mental state and capacity of wanting to kill herself, using drugs. Like, it was very concerning. As for the first TPO that was put in place and disabling the vehicle, she almost crashed the vehicle. If you look at the document of the damage to it, she ran off the road, almost running into the ravine. Luckily, a pole stopped her from hitting it off there. She could have died, from partying and drinking that night, and that's when we were separated. So, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have disabled the vehicle. I was very concerned about the kids' sake, and for her, after reading these journal entries of, oh, I'm going to run away. I want to kill myself. I don't want to live anymore. And I have proof of this too, Your Honor. It was never even heard in the first TPO hearing of her doing drugs and everything else. I have proof of that as well in journal entries. That I was going, while we were separated, I would go to the house and watch the kids. She would go on dates and stuff, and it was very emotional, Your Honor. And it was over a year ago. I mean, this was, I made a mistake by doing that, and that's the only thing she could use against me. Hey, I'm going to get a police report. I was in a very emotional state for her cheating on me and finding out that she loves this bipolar guy that has no car and job. And I have proof of that as well.
This is all stuff that's been hashed out before.
Well, and I've explained to both of these parties before. You're getting a divorce, one way or the other.
I understand that.
Nevada is a no-fault state. I don't care who was a bad husband and who was a bad wife and who said what and blah. It's not my business, all right? My business is creating a plan for your family to move forward, all right?
That's all I want. That's all I want for my kids.
You're getting a divorce, okay? I don't care who she's seeing or who she's dating, or I expect it's taking an emotional toll on you. That's what happens. You don't have to tell me that, okay? I have a couple of questions for you. I want you to answer them.
Yes, Your
You
Honor.
indicated that you've disabled the vehicle in the past. You indicated that you placed a tracking device on the car previously. Have you been actively tracking her since the two of you have separated?
No, Your Honor, I haven't tracked her, nor have I have better things to do with my time than
Okay,
track.
so you have not utilized the tracking system through GeoTab. You have not accessed that software since the time that you two separated.
Since the time that we separated. Can you reframe the question? Like
Okay.
Like since what? Since we've been apart, have I not?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm the IT guy for the company.
Have
so
you accessed the software and tracked her?
It's being tracked automatically, Your Honor.
Have you seen it? Have you looked at it? Have you gone on?
We do reviews of it sometimes, yes.
Okay. So you've looked to see where she's been?
There's been occasions I track my own vehicle. That's part of the.
So kind of a yes or no. Yes, I have looked at where she has been, or no, I haven't looked at where she's been.
Your Honor, I've tracked my own vehicle, yes.
You track her in that vehicle?
That is my vehicle as well. Like, I have tracking devices on both vehicles in which I track.
I'm not so concerned about your vehicle and tracking yourself. You can do that all day long. My question is about her and the vehicle she's driving, pursuant to my order.
So I will admit to this. So there, around midnight, I even have my friend was over. My guy friend is my best friend, and my dog starts barking like crazy. It's around midnight. He's about to leave. He's like, "What the heck's going on?" So we look out the window, and we see this car going off, and that's when this is when she found the tracking. She remembered that there's a tracking device. She said, "Why was there a car outside your house?" And I'm like, "Candace, do you have a girlfriend over?" I'm like, "No, I don't have a girlfriend over. I have a friend over." How would you know that too? How would you know? And was that you when the dog was barking? I saw a car going out. I looked out my window. And that in that case, I did ask that, and my friend can attest to that as well. Like he was there, and after that, she's like, "Oh, maybe there's a tracking device in my car if I remember." And she brought that up to me in conversation over the phone. Like, there was a car in front of your house around midnight? What's she doing driving past my house at midnight? Like,
Are there any other instances where you logged on to see where her car was, other than that one?
there was a few other occurrences. Of both vehicles, it'd take a lot to explain, but I don't do the software side. I do the hardware piece of everything of the company. So I'm not as familiar with everything, but yes, it can be tracked. It is whenever the device is plugged in, it tracks the location of the vehicle.
I understand that. I'm asking you whether you got on the computer, or your iPhone, or whatever it is, and access the information.
Have I ever did none? Yes.
Since
there's been
the
times-
separation.
Both of it, yes.
Okay. She indicated that you sent her some concerning text messages.
Nothing threatening. That was the time when we were trying to get back together. I actually went over her house and spent the night and kind of
It's not true.
and I have text messages for that as well. So she invited me over multiple times. This was actually recent too. This was back in February, March. So yeah, and then after the thing blew up, and I have other text messages I can show to that as well. So it's been emotional. Sure. So.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
Like I said, these TPOs, she's been using them or threatening them the whole time. There's nothing in me that wants to track her, cause harm to her. She's the mother of my children. I just want what's best for my kids, and what's best for them is for us to co-parent and be good parents to them. I don't want anything. If she wants to go with all these crazy guys that she's been doing, even guys that have contacted me, which has been crazy. It's just there's no reason for it. There's no reason. I'm done with that. I don't need to be with somebody that's going to do that. I wish her the best on that, and I just hope that we can be friends and good co-parents for our kids. That's it. But that's going to take a while to do. So that's all I need to say. Like, there's no other reason for these TPOs, and I have not been doing anything that warrants it. So.
Counsel, briefly.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, but the main issues I want to touch on is the tracking device. The email that it was been provided today, it's dated this month, and it does say that employees can use these in their vehicle. Doesn't say anything about their spouse's vehicle, and it should be noted that he didn't start working for this company until March. And so if that's this company's policy that was in place in March, then that tracking device had to have been put in sometime after March. And I don't see any reason why, based on what I read in that email, why he can't do exactly what he needs to for his company, tracking his own vehicle, which is apparently what they want to do to test this software. There's been a lot of allegations about Candace doing drugs and partying and driving down the canyon. It was all stuff that was addressed in the initial TPO hearing. Though all the allegations were proven to be false. And Candace is not a drug dealer. She's not a drug user. She's not an excessive partier. She takes care of her children and goes and teaches school. That's basically the essence of it. Also, with the tracking devices, one other thing. Candace had her car, the smog down on her car in August of last year, of 2015, and the device was not there. So we're not exactly sure when it got placed, but just the getting back together, that's never been with us. We've produced evidence with our reports, with our motions, that he's tried multiple times to get back together with Candace, and every time her response is no. Leave me alone, quit talking to me, talk to me. If you want to talk to me about the kids. And it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And here we are again, addressing the same thing again. It's been over a year where we've been told about all this evidence that's out there, all this evidence about her partying and everything, and not one thing has been produced. And here we are ready for trial, and we haven't received anything.
All right.
Your Honor, can I speak to that as well, please?
Just briefly.
So, first of all, I do have evidence I presented to you in all the court documents. If you could review the journals and the other pictures that I submitted, they weren't looked at. There nothing, the drug use, the mental instability. She was the aggressor in all every instant that we had. She has severe depression. She has PMDD, which is post-periodical dysmorphic disorder, which causes severe mood swings. She also is bipolar. She has a history of punching and hitting and throwing jelly jars while the kids are there yelling in front of them. I'm really concerned for my kids, and they're seeing this. They're coming to me, Daddy, I want to stay with you. I don't want to be with Mommy. Like, Mommy's yelling at me. Mommy's spanking me. Mommy, like, I don't know what to do, Your Honor. Like, I'm very concerned with her. Like, she always would be hitting and punching. I don't want her doing that to my kids or in front of the kids. I know that she's been in counseling, and I hope that she's making progress there. And I have journal entries to all this, and I beg if you could look at those and try to determine that. Like, there was no means to which I had to stop the abuse in a lot of ways. And if you read, it's a lot stemmed from her father and the beating her mother right in front of her, and just having all kinds of different issues that just an emotional roller coaster of this
None
matter.
of this is relevant to
All right.
the current video.
Okay. What I'm going to do today, everybody sit down. I'm going to issue a ruling. While I'm talking, nobody else is going to talk. All right? You're going to listen. I'm going to give you the parameters of this ruling. I'm also going to set a temporary order. It's going to be temporary until we come back next week. Okay? I am very, very concerned. Right? Your behavior is not consistent with what you're telling me. Okay? Since the first time I have seen you, and I have seen this case, my response to you has been the same. I'm concerned. Okay? Your behavior is very controlling. It is not stopping. It is getting worse. And that worries me significantly. A 4-year-old just turning 5, doesn't know what a tracker is, shouldn't know all of these things. There's only one reason for them to know about a map and a blue dot and a device on the car. Okay? That concerns me, that you're teaching your son to behave in a way that is controlling, that is disrespectful to his mother, and is contrary to my orders. From today forward, there will be no tracking of any telephone, of any car, her car. Counsel, you'll keep the tracking device in your possession until further order of the court. There'll be no speaking on the telephone between the two of you, no texting. You will utilize Talking Parents exclusively. We will give you both the pamphlets today. Mom, you have 48 hours to set up the account. The account is free of charge. It will ask you for Dad's email. You'll put Dad's email into it. Dad, you'll get a request, and you'll join that account, okay? I'll be privy to all of those communications, and those will be concerning solely your children, okay, and nothing else. You are not allowed to talk about anything other than your children, and that is it. I expect for those conversations to be professional. Professional means you will talk to each other as though you talk to a coworker or your supervisor. There will be no talking about any other subject and no inappropriate comments. Do you understand? That order is until further order of the court. I am today issuing a TPO. In addition to issuing the TPO, I'm issuing a firearms order. Defendant Michael McDonald shall not possess any firearms until further of the order of the court. You have 24 hours to make arrangements. There will be no firearms on your person, in your home. You will not have access to firearms. Do you understand?
Your Honor, I actually go shooting with my buddies all the time. We're in an IT shooting group and stuff, so I ask you not to do that. There's no reason for it. I've never made any threatening.
The reason is, and let me remind you again, that the court said I'm talking now, and that nobody will interrupt me. I've heard the evidence regarding the TPO. I have presided in this case for months, seen the increasing behavior that concerns me. I have been concerned about this case for weeks. You keep me up at night, Mr. McDonald. Your behavior is concerning to me.
Why, Your Honor? Why? Can you explain that?
All right, for the last time, do not interrupt me. Your inability to follow my orders concerns me. I am concerned. I cannot express to you how concerned I am about your behavior. Over time, it's increasing. It is controlling. You don't get to know where she is, okay? You don't get to track her car. You don't get to track her phone. You don't get to disable her car, okay? All of those things are very inappropriate. And one of them, taken alone, like the Valentine's Day incident, that taken alone, I can give you the benefit of the doubt. But when I see a pattern of behavior over months, it's difficult for me to give you the benefit of the doubt. Do you understand? It has to stop. Temporarily, visitation is absolutely suspended. You're to have no contact with the children until further order of this court.
Your Honor,
We will see you next week for a hearing. We'll see you next week for the hearing. There'll be no visitation until then.
Listen.
I am concerned about your behavior. I'm concerned about your access to your children. I'm concerned what information you're giving them and your behavior while they're in your care. I cannot explain to you any more. I have given you my thought process. It is your choice, your chosen course of conduct in this case that has resulted in this order. If, for any reason, counsel, there is anything, any violation of any order I've made today, and counsel, I want this order to be signed within 24 hours. You're walking out with the TPO today. You get me that order this afternoon because I'm going to sign it. Because you're going to have a copy of it in your car at all times, in your house at all times, and at your school at all times. Any violation of this order, I want to know. And I will put it on calendar within 24 hours, and somebody's going to jail. I will put you in jail for 25 times for every violation, okay? It's not sinking in. What I've told you from the outset of this case is simply not sinking in. And I've given you the benefit of the doubt after the benefit of the doubt. You're not learning. You're continuing. Mr. McDonald, my punishment will be harsh and swift. Please understand that I'm very serious. She will be safe, and your children will be safe.
May I speak, Your Honor?
No. I want you to really listen, because I have this distinct impression that every word that I've said since the beginning of this case, you did not listen to. So today you listen. We will see everyone back on Wednesday. Counsel, as soon as I hear from Mr. Maglares in any fashion, I want to have a phone conference just for scheduling so we can confirm that we're going forward next Wednesday and confirm his health condition. If it's something that is serious and we need some more time, I want to accommodate that. And so let's the three of us discuss that. So if for any reason you have any information about him or someone from his office contacts you, please let me know.
Absolutely,
All right. And I will, my office will contact you if we hear from Mr. Maglares.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, counsel. I do need that order relatively quickly because I want to sign it very quickly. Thank you so much. Good luck to the party.
Anything else? There's nothing.